that waking up is the first process, the initial process to enlightenment. Awakening is becoming to the truth of who and what God is. That is what awakening is. And truths are everywhere. Truths are everywhere, and even to those who are not even paying attention to them, and they have their own truths. Truths are given to everyone, and many people are aware of them. Like everyone in the church, they know the grander truth that what we call as God resides within man. They know that truth. But the big question is, are they seeking God from within? They are not. And because they think that seeking God, Sheila, the mistake which people make is that they think that seeking God is doing something to reach God. Seeking God is not something to do. It's not some doing. Sheila, we are already one with God. It's not some doing, it's some becoming. Because immediately you do some doing, you'll bring concepts. Immediately there is doing, there will be systems and procedures.
That's right.
That's why right now for religions, they tell you have to pay tithe, you have to do this, you have not to drink beer, you don't have to have sex, and this and that, so that you can reach God. Sheila, it's not about that. This is what they don't know. It's not about that. Seeking God is not a doing. It's something of our becoming to our true nature. It is who we are, because we and our Father are one. It's not something to even to journey to God. People are saying they're journeying to God, but it is not even journeying back to God. And even if it is the journeying back to God, and even if it is the journey back to God, Sheila, let me tell you, that journey only takes the becoming. The reason I'm always reminding people that, listen, when you get stuck into concepts of finding God outside here, concepts. If you go follow like instructions, moral instructions, Sheila, one thing you have to know, if moral instructions are given, what people do in religion, they are following the moral instructions given by religion. And this is something very wrong, Sheila. You cannot go outside of yourself to get an instruction from outside of yourself of who you are or who you are to become. If people could put this list of morals, do not have sex, do not drink, do not do this and that, if they will just put them aside and focus on the becoming from within, these morals will fall into place. Because the becoming is becoming love. There is only one thing in which is becoming of love. When you are becoming of love, Sheila, morals outside here, they will fall. Those negative morals, they will automatically, when you become of love, because everything you're doing, you will ask yourself, does this bring love? Does this bring joy? Does this bring happiness? Does whatever I want to do bring beauty to me and to anyone around it? Simple. Sheila, is the becoming. These instructions, the reason why you will find people in front lines in church being ushers, intercessors, and praise and worship, while outside here is other things they are doing, is because they are following instructions from outside. They are not focusing on the within, which is that which is becoming. Sheila, we are supposed to be in the state of becoming, because everything is God expressing. Everything and everyone is God expressing himself as that. So us as channels, us as vessels where God is expressing through us, what are we experiencing God? What are we expressing outside here? What is that God we express? It is the becoming. That's why, Sheila, I told you, God seeks after the heart. God sees. God looks to see in your heart what you feel about God. God looks at your heart to see what you feel about the God you perceive. The same God you perceive, the same God you worship. He looks into your heart. What do you feel about the God you perceive? And one thing you have to know, God lacks nothing. He can't be absent. There is nothing outside here. God is not. Therefore, God looks into your heart to see what you feel about all things outside here. All things outside. God looks at that because there's nothing God is not. God looks at how you feel about God. Outside here, there's nothing God is not. Therefore, God looks at how you feel emotionally within your heart about all things. Because who God is, He make all things new outside here. Therefore, what do you feel about that? Sheila, anything here, even the Satan himself, anything, even Satan, if you have anything against him, let me tell you one thing. You are against God. There is nothing God is not. Satan is God expressing himself as that. And many people will think that Satan is some higher energy fighting against God. It is not. Outside of God exists nothing. Everything is within.
Now that you're talking about that, you know there's the Armageddon. You know very well.
Yeah?
You know about Armageddon?
I know.
Armageddon.
Yes, I know.
So when you're talking about what you're talking, can you connect that with the Armageddon, relate with Armageddon now? So that you're saying what you're saying.
Connect it with Armageddon as as the ending of the world.
Yeah, so there's going to be the ending battle. Let's get serious.
Actually, let me tell you one thing. This is what happens, Sheila. First, you have to know one thing. You have to understand one thing, which is one major thing people fail to understand. And it is this one. That the negative path does not reach to God. The negative path never ends up to God. The negative path never goes back to God. And it is God by itself. Let me tell you one thing. Polarity, light and darkness, good and evil, exists in third dimension, fourth dimension, and fifth dimension only. The positive path is the one which penetrates through to the seventh. So the negative path, immediately it reaches fifth density, it has no choice. It has no choice but to be polarized to the path of light. It has no choice. That's why now here the trick is we don't know if you reach to fifth density, because you have to polarize to the light. You have to reincarnate back to that density. You go back to learn the lessons again so that you polarize. So this thing which we call as Armageddon, ending of the world, like there's going to be war. These things, Sheila, these things are not about the source, God, who's going to bring Armageddon. It's not about the source, God, like there's going to be.
those entities.
It is the entities. It is the.
So what do you think about that? And every other time when we have this conversation, I just ask you something very simple, Senior. Everybody and everything is evolving to the grander version and to the next level of existence. As we keep on transforming into that which pure light, pure love, you understand, the essence of life and everything that it entails, to the good, for the good of all and to the harm of none. Sinisawa?
Yes.
For the good of all. That we are embracing, we're evolving into the good. That's where we are going, and as we become. So the point is this: while all this is happening, this is creation that is doing this. What about the source of it all? Daniela, what about the source of it all? This is one question that you've never really been able to
Let me tell you one thing.
Me. Because
the source of all.
Everybody else is talking. Kwani huyu mwenye aliumba hii mbingu na nchi, yeye haongei, yeye hafanyi lolote, anakaa tu.
There is nothing he is not. Everything is evolution. Like you are told that, when you are told that God is ever knowing, this knowing to God, it comes through whatever is within his creation. Sheila, the knowing, the ever knowing of God comes through the knowing, which, like the realization of whatever is going on within himself. Because outside of him exists nothing. Therefore, there is nothing God is not. Sheila, you are here to be in control. When you are told you are here to be in balance, it means that you are here to be in control. To be in control is that you can and you are able to be in control. That is who you are. Not waiting for something outside of you, because that which you seek, you already are. Do not seek for anything to speak outside of you. Do not wait for anything to come and save you outside of you. You can save you. And you can speak. Sheila, your reality is your reality. Yes, we could be sharing our realities, but everyone is experiencing their reality. You are the God of your reality.
Absolutely. So the creative entity is not saying nothing. Anakato angoje. The ones in level 5 kuendelea, the ones in level what kuendelea.
You know what? This thing, what we call as God, let me tell you one thing. They are gods. Sheila, they are creator gods. From many multiverses, higher multiverses, which even our universe, the highest creator beings in this universe cannot perceive of the other universes which are above them. And even those ones cannot perceive. It goes like that one, like that to infinite, Sheila. So this thing is infinite. What you call as God, Sheila, don't. If someone comes and tell you that God says this and God is that, Sheila, God is a mystery unknown to man. To the higher gods, creator gods themselves, to the creator gods themselves, God is a mystery. It is just the presence. No one can define what God is. It is that presence where we are evolving within. The higher we go, the more experiences we have, the more we explore, the more discoveries we make to infinite. So if someone tells you that God says this, God says nothing. God is just is. Because when God is just is, it means that whatever is going within himself is in perfect divine order.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is happening for, not to.
I've reached at my brother's house. I'm in Nairobi, actually.
So this thing people are calling us God, Sheila, I think people have to wake up. Because this is one concept about God which you have to know. That, number one, let me give you an example of our religions. I've been in all religions. In each religion, our God was the true God. The other gods of other religions, they were fake, not genuine gods. Okay? When I was there, I agreed. But right now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you one question. And this question is this one. These same religions, they are claiming that the God they worship is omnipresent. If you are in Christianity, if you are a Christian, if your God is omnipresent, it means that he cannot be absent. Even in Islam, even in Hinduism, even in devil worshipping, even in Luciferian, he cannot be absent. So, this is what I was telling you. I'm telling you that the God,
I'm looking for food. Good girl.
the God which each religions, like the God which Christians worship, they say the God they worship is omnipresent. For God who is omnipresent, it means that he can never be absent anywhere and in all things. Therefore, if their God is omnipresent, they should know that he is present in Islam, he is present in Hinduism, he is present in devil worshipping, he is present in Luciferian, he is present everywhere. He can't be absent. One thing about God, he cannot be absent. If he cannot be absent, immediately he is identified as this. Sheila, when you give an identity, it means that it is this, it is not that. Immediately you give an identity to something, it means it is not that. That's why you are giving it an identity. And you cannot give God identity, because immediately you say God is Yahweh, it means he is not something else. When you say God is Allah, it means he is not something else. What we call as God, even calling him as God, we are not supposed to identify, we are just to know. Sheila, it's not about concepts of what we can hear or on what we can identify of physicality. If you want to define God, define him through the knowing without words. If you want, the only way someone can define God to you, Sheila, is without words. So if someone comes there and doesn't give you any words about God, you ask them what God is and they keep quiet, they have defined what God is. Because he cannot be this. Immediately you identify God as this. Anything you identify, everything which has been identified, it has been identified because it is not that. This is a television, therefore it is not a refrigerator. When identity is involved, it means that there are a lot of things involved, therefore there has to be identification so that things will be known that is that and that is this is this. Therefore, even God, giving God a name is not. When you give when you give something an identity, when you give something, when you give something, when you give God an identity, what you have given, that which you have given the identity is not God, it is part. of God because it is within God. Therefore, all religious gods, yes, they are part of God, but they are not there. When you give an identity to God, what you have given an identity to is not God, but part of God. Therefore, all religious gods are part of God, but they are not God, the source. But they are part of God and they are within God, same as Satan and the devil. Let me tell you a story. Before the Hebrews, they were the Canaanites. These Canaanites, they originated from the lineage of Cain. The Canaanites were the lineage of Cain. So this is what their belief is, the Canaanites. The Canaanites. And actually it is where some of the esoteric teachings, or some of the Gnostic teachings, they are from the Canaanites. This is what they say. Religion, the God, they went with Cain because in the beginning, during the times of creation, during the time of the Garden of Eden, when Cain took his offering to God, God refused, did not appreciate his offering, and he appreciated of his brother. What was his name? Abel. This is one thing you have to know. Abel was an animal keeper. Cain was a farmer. The God which the plants. So the Canaanites believe bloodthirsty. They were bloodthirsty. They refused the sacrifices of Cain because they did not have blood. And actually, when you look at it, it is true, because the God of Old Testament was all about, his sacrifices were all blood sacrifices, animal blood sacrifices, and there's an extent where he asked for virgin sacrifices, blood sacrifices. So these Canaanites, this is what they teach. They say that this God who is the creator God, is locking us in the third density. He's telling you, do not sin. Therefore, when you do not sin, you run away from all the experiences of flesh and physicality of this density. And that is how souls are recycled, because lessons of third density, you are running away from them, you reincarnate over and over. This is what the Canaanites, actually this is the teachings of the theology of Canaanites. They say, like, for them, they do everything to experience things, so that when they solve a case, there's nothing left which has to be experienced. It is their concept, but it makes sense. Actually, Sheila, it makes a little sense somewhere, because no one leaves this density without completing all lessons. Sheila, no one skips even a sentence in a lesson. Everyone has to experience everything. There is no shortcut. You understand? So that's why I'm telling you the stories of the Old Testament God, and the story, even Jesus, the story about Jesus. Jesus was not even supporting the gods of the Old Testament. In fact, he said, those who came before me were thieves. Those who came before me were thieves and robbers. That was Jesus, what he said in the Bible. And there is another instance where when the children of Israel asked for food, Yahweh sent serpents, fiery serpents. And Jesus disputed this. He asked in the New Testament, you as fathers, if your children asks for food, will you give them serpents? He was just against that. And even another instance again, yet again, Yahweh, he was an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That's what Yahweh said in the Old Testament. But Jesus disputed it, and he said, although it is said that an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, I tell you, if someone slaps you on one side, give them another cheek to slap. Jesus, when he came here, he said he did not come to disregard the law. Sheila, it is not the law. When people say law, they think the law is Torah. No. Law is not Torah. Law is God. There is only one law, which is God. All these other things are bullshit, Sheila. They are not laws. That's why I told you last time, when they say thou shall not have any other gods, Sheila, you can have as thousands of gods as you want in your own home, and life goes on. But the laws of God, they cannot be broken. They work as intended. And there is only one law. And law, the reason why God is the law is because God is not biased. The law of God, all laws of God are not biased. They work always. When it is said that as a man thinketh, so he becomes, it depends on whatever you think, good or evil.